Hi guys, Gareth Everson here, Paul's Infusionsoft guy over here in the UK, working with the PT Profit Academy mastermind group. This is a recording of a session that I ran for some of the members around an Infusionsoft demo. They were interested to find out more about it. It's a condensed version of the demo itself. So sit back, have a good look, and if you've got questions, my contact details are at the end of the video. But for the training and implementation sessions, of which there are 4 through Paul's program, 4 Infusionsoft centric sessions, I do those via GoToMeeting and record those sessions and whatnot. And the purpose of those is to give you a good grounding in the software, the sales and marketing and CRM aspects of the software, in the context of it being Paul's solution for physical therapists. Now, I don't know if you guys know the backstory, but about 2 years ago, in fact, almost exactly 2 years ago, Paul approached me. Coming off of struggling with his Aweber autoresponder and having heard great things about Infusionsoft and having written some fantastic copy through his Aweber and through his blog and through his landing pages, wanting to take it up another level. And he approached me to help him get on board with Infusionsoft and to understand what this thing that everybody was talking about could really do to help his business. And we spent a fair amount of time, to be fair, to establish his campaigns that you see on his website today. He's got 6 or 7 key funnels that draw leads into his business, and he's got, as you'll have seen from his email series, he's got follow-up activities, basically, until somebody says yes, or until somebody says stop marketing to me, and it's usually the former. And we got those set up in Infusionsoft, but the uniqueness and the thing that I really liked about Paul and his intent was that it wasn't just about email. It was about that total approach, that full approach to marketing and engagement with his prospects. It was about setting tags. It was about setting tasks as reminders for his staff or himself to phone and call up these guys that had expressed interest. It was about using offline media like letters and sending gifts and packages in the post. And it was a really holistic approach to Infusionsoft marketing, really moving out of that inbox and getting engagement. So I was delighted then when, what would it be, 6 or 8 months ago, when he started this Profit Academy mastermind group, that he then reapproached me, having worked so successfully together previously, to onboard him with Infusionsoft and get him rolling in the same way that I have done now with 6 of his members, to help you guys get off the ground and running and deliver some really quick successes with the software, keeping it all as cost effective as possible, but really focused on the results. And so that's where we are today with what we're doing here. Infusionsoft as a system is one that's tailored specifically for small businesses, and it benefits a whole variety of businesses across pretty much any niche where you're capturing leads, following up with those leads, dealing with objections, and moving them through the pipeline until such a point as they're ready to buy. And as a system itself, it contains CRM, which is customer relationship management or contact relationship management, if you want to call it that way. It contains a marketing automation component, which includes inbound marketing as well as outbound marketing. So we're capturing leads on your website. We're capturing leads that are either walk-ins or phone-ins. And we're taking those leads and segmenting them in such a way that we're speaking to them in a context that they would expect, rather than adding somebody just to a generic constant contact or Aweber list and just putting them through a generic follow-up, what we're able to do with Infusionsoft is really slice and dice our prospects such that we're segmenting them as they come into the system. So I want to show you some of that in this little demo that I've got for you. I'm going to show you the basic CRM first of all, and then show you what we do with some of the data and how we process that data and where it comes from, and show you some of those follow-up campaigns. So what we have at a basic level is our contact management system, and within this we call this the interactive view here, because it's interactive because we can do a whole bunch of stuff right from within the contact record. We can do things like add notes, create tasks or see what tasks are outstanding, maybe form appointments with folks, see their email history, segment them with tagging. So you can see this particular gentleman here was imported from Travis's constant contact list, and a whole bunch of other stuff around the import. We can see if they filled in any forms. This guy was an import record, so doesn't have any form submissions, whether it's an internal one by your staff, done by way of sort of internal process management, or if they've opted in via a form on your website where you contact us, or a lead capture form like the back pain report that Paul does. And then we can also see what kind of campaigns they're in. So that's the contact record. We can go into greater detail, and you can see all of the information that gets stored against them. We've got around 40 or 50 standard field records, and then you can create any bunch of custom fields on the record as well. We've got the capacity to create up to 100 custom fields right in the system. Now you don't have to create those contact records yourself. The campaigns that I implement for you will have a whole bunch of fields that we import into the system that we can use to start segmenting and following up with our prospects. Follow-up questions, patient problems, lead sources, etc., etc. And the other thing that I mentioned was around tagging. Tagging is like a digital post-it note. So if you imagine, if you can imagine in your clinic having walls that are just covered with post-it notes around every single patient or prospect that you have, every single bit of information that you have about those people, what pains they've presented with, what their goals are, when you last contacted them, which email sequence they're in, what they've told you. If you could imagine having hundreds or thousands of post-it notes representing all of your patients and prospects up on your wall, this is what Infusionsoft's doing. And based on, but going beyond that information about somebody, when we apply a tag or remove a tag from a contact record, we can also trigger automation to happen. So if somebody clicks on a link, we can follow up with them in a specific way because they've shown interest. If they don't click on a link in an email and we have to send them another email before they click, then we can manage the process through that. So we can segment people based on their actions or inactions with us. So now, having given you an overview of the contact record, I want to show you where the magic happens. The magic happens in a place called the campaign builder. And you don't need to know the full nuts and bolts of everything in here, at least not when we start getting going. But I am going to show you how our workflows and our follow-up processes function within Infusionsoft and within Paul's campaigns and funnels that he has. And it all starts with capturing and segmenting our leads that come in. So we pull leads into the system, and typically Paul has this strong philosophy around having a single lead capture form from which we then segment people based on their interests and based on the pains that they're presenting with. So we have back pain leads, in this instance, knee pain leads and neck pain leads. And the way that we're doing that is just via this simple form right here. We have this simple web form that within your practice you'd have on the front desk, or everybody having access to via a bookmark on their browser. And when somebody makes an inquiry, We just capture their details within this form, within this all-encompassing form, some of which is we have to capture, like the information that they've requested, and that's helping us to segment by the pain that they're presenting with. We ask them how they found us so that we can improve our marketing and work out what's working, what's not working. But then the real magic of what Paul does in his follow-up marketing is around addressing what's concerning them the most. And this is where Infusionsoft, above just a regular email autoresponder, really comes into its own. Because when we ask the prospect to tell us what's concerning them, and we're capturing it in their own words, so to speak, not knowing what's wrong with your back, or that they're depending on painkillers, or that they fear that they're going to have to undergo the surgeon's knife if they don't address their back pain or their knee pain or whatnot. But then we also combine that with what their goal is. So as well as addressing what's in their mindset around what's concerning them, we also want to work out what do they want to do. So what's their main objective? Do they want to just be able to walk further? Do they want to be able to sleep better? Are they physical, and do they want to get back to playing sport? You can see here all of these things are worded in such a way that your person on the front desk who's capturing the lead by the phone or walking or whatever can ask the prospect in words that they understand and that are real simple to capture into the database exactly what their main goal is. And of course, when we've got this information, the real value of having it is not just that it's a field in our database. The real value of it is that we can include this exact same terminology and these exact same words in follow-up emails. So when Paul talks about people in his emails, he's a great storyteller, and he'll do that within the context of your business. He'll say, whenever I talk to people who want to be able to walk further without back pain, instead of him writing that out in the email, he's able to use the exact same goal that somebody's told them. So somebody who wants to walk further without back pain might get that email or the wording that relates to that in their email. The person that wants to get back to playing sport, so somebody that's has very different goals, it would come across in the email as, when I speak to somebody that wants to get back to playing sport, and that's what gets merged into the emails. So we're segmenting people on the initial lead capture and then wowing them with our follow-up emails using the exact terminology and the exact pains and concerns and goals and aspirations that they've already told us about. And that really creates a connection and a bond between the person who's reading those emails and having those conversations with the staff who are following up and the prospective patient, and it converts. It's proven to convert. Does that make sense, how we're segmenting and we're using this information within the system so far?
Yes, sir.
Great. And we've also got other fields in there, things where it's free text that your staff can enter, further information that you find out about them. I love this one. I love this idea of the mystique, and he's incorporated this into his business such that anybody who's accessing his Infusionsoft system can see this mystique that relates to any patient on the system. So whether that's Dean plays golf, or Gareth enjoys going to soccer matches with his son, but his team aren't playing very well at the moment. Things like that can really create a bond with your patients are important to capture within this. And there's room for that within Infusionsoft. We don't have to create infinite numbers of fields. We can just capture this kind of information that can help us in our follow-up phone calls or contact that we have with them to speak to them on their level a little better. So that's my favorite field that's in Paul's application. So if I jump back into our campaign, that's the form that we're capturing them in. And we do have other forms I'll show you in a different campaign, that some of the simple ones that go on websites or on on lead pages, capture pages, that you can send either SEO traffic to or paid traffic. But fundamentally, if somebody's phoning in or somebody's walking in, they'll come through this form. And then we just segment them. And this is a rules-based segmentation. Infusionsoft's full of these things, whereby based on information that we have about somebody, we can send them down different pathways. And this is just a simple rules-based logic here. If somebody's told us that the information that they want is around back pain or knee pain or neck pain, we send them in different directions so that we're marketing to them in an appropriate way. If we go down the back pain route, well, we've also got another rule then that also applies some logic that says, do we have their email or don't we have their email? If we do have their email, then they can go into the email nurture. If we don't have the email, then they'll get some direct mail from us. They'll get a letter follow up, or they'll get the ebook printed out and sent to them in the physical mail. And all that we're doing here is we're just telling Infusionsoft which pathway to send them down and applying that digital post-it note, the tag, to their contact record. We're sending them down the direct mail campaign, or we're sending them down the email campaign right here. And once you have all of this, these components, if you were doing the same for knee pain, well, we can copy those instead of having to recreate the wheel every time you do a campaign. You can start off with things that you already have by copying campaign components into other parts of the application, just like that, just as I did there.
It's awesome, Gareth. I've been on 2 Paul calls now with the group, and Paul was talking a little bit about how he uses the segmentation to really understand who's who in the marketing mix. He was talking a little bit earlier on the first call that I was on about the elderly clients that actually are driving a bit further to come into the office, but he knows those things because of the tag elements and the segmentation through the system. Now he has a plan for that revenue that's just sitting there ready to come into the office, really.
Yeah, we call it no loss leads. So every lead that you capture into your system is prospective money waiting to come into the business, and having the information in there and being able to segment and run reports on the information that you have about them can allow you then to work out what you do with anybody that hasn't yet bought. Is there a way somewhere down the sales pipeline that you need to do something a little different with? So I'm going to show you what happens when, so this is the back pain campaign, and this is something that we'd work through if this was the campaign that you'd done with Paul. We're pulling people so people work from left to right within the campaigns. We're pulling people in on the left-hand side. Some of these are through that walk-in segmentation that we saw on the last couple of pages. Some of them are through other forms that we're using, whether it be an opt-in from a newspaper ad, or a leaflet drop, or something else on a website. The ultimate goal is to get them over to the right-hand side of this campaign, which is where they book an appointment in the clinic, and they're added to the welcome emails campaign that goes out. But the magic happens in between times. So based on what we know about them, based on where they've come from, we're going to drop them into, well, 3 main follow-ups, really. We've got the email follow-ups, we've got the telephone follow-ups, and we've got the direct mail follow-ups. We've also got the ability, I don't know whether you guys use Facebook ads and remarketing, but we've got the ability to create custom audiences in Facebook based on how long somebody's been in our funnel. And based on, and we do that through tagging. I can show you that if we get in depth when we start working together. I don't think many people have done much Facebook marketing and advertising based on custom audiences, but I'd be happy to show you that and walk you through that. The functionality's there. The key campaign, and I'm going to zoom out so none of us will be able to read this. I just want you to see sort of what's in here. We've got 17 or 18 follow-up emails that are scheduled to go out over a 7-week period. And in each of those emails, we have call to actions within there, whether it be to book an online appointment, so to go to the diary, an online calendar, and to book a one-to-one consultation, a free 15-minute consultation over the phone. It might be that we ask them to reply in the emails, or it might be that we ask them to call in to the surgery, to actually phone in to have a phone consultation with one of your staff. We kind of mix that up throughout the emails so that we can they're not being hammered with exactly the same request and the same call to action every single time. We're really mixing up the content of what goes into these emails. So we've got a whole bunch of emails, and based on people's interactions with us and whether they actually are progressing to the next stage to book the appointment, they stay in this campaign until they actually take action. But as soon as they take action, the important thing is that we pull them out of the campaign. We don't continue pitching the exact same thing to them again and again and again. We're telling the system when they do take action, and when we do fill in the next form when they are booking an appointment, to pull them out of this particular campaign. Let me just jump into one more so you can see how the emails sort of change as we go. So there's a real sort of storytelling angle to all of this. He's merging in here. First name, he is, do we have anything else in there?
There was some good copy there. G was talking a little bit about reducing your prescriptions, right?
Removing... Oh, they all have this copy. Not to be reliant on insurance and all of that.
That's great. It's the first time I've seen it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. So our main call to action on this, so not to confuse them, we've just got one single call to action: hit reply. And so when somebody replies, it obviously goes into, we decide whose inbox it goes into in the practice, and that person will follow up with whoever's replied. Now, as all of this goes on, so we've got email, but we've also got a whole bunch of other stuff. So on a cycle basis, it's usually once per week, we're creating a task for somebody in the office to go and give them a follow-up phone call. And within that task that gets automatically generated by the system, let me zoom in here so you can see what's in here. We've got a whole bunch of merged information that's going in there. So all the stuff that the patient told us, who they are, what concerns them most, what their main goal is, what does it stop them from doing, all of that good stuff, we're merging into the task record such that when it gets assigned to either the practice manager to follow up with, or yourselves to follow up with, if you want to do it that way, you've got that information to hand from right within the task that gets generated for you on the system. So you don't have to go and scrabble for those notes from the patient or prospect record. It's right there and in front of you, and you can have that call with that person at the allotted time. So these are all important, that we're not just reliant on email to engage with people. We're also using the system to tell us when it's appropriate to follow up with them. Now, you might over time adjust some of these timings. These are the timings that work well for Paul when I implemented with him 2 years ago. He's tweaked them over time in the time that he's been using Infusionsoft, but these are the ones that work for him right now, and they seem to be working with the members of the group that we've implemented this with. And again, as you can see, we've got these little luggage tag labels here that apply or remove tags depending on where we're at. So on a contact record of somebody that's going through the back pain funnel and has got to week 4, they'd have this tag saying telephone week 4 right on their contact record. But what they wouldn't have is the week 3 one, because we're removing that. We're adding tags, we're removing tags, we're keeping it all nice and clean in the contact record so we know where we are with people at any one time. And we're letting the system do most of that because we've configured it that way to do it. All okay on this, on tasks and emails and follow-up phone calls?
Just a quick question. I'm assuming the system notifies the person who's supposed to be calling that it's due for the call?
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly what happens there, Dean. So we've got in here, this little bit down at the bottom says notify owner, and we can also configure it to say notify these users. So by default, it's the owner that's doing this. Travis here is the backup. And you can see right at the start of this campaign, we've assigned the owner of Justine. to go and make those calls. We can configure this in any way that you want to.
Yeah, no leak slips through the crack, Dean, and it's tremendous consistency and branding from that. You guys are going to be that team, that firm, that just never misses it.
And then the other main one is just is a little bit simpler. Having shown you the email one, which is extensive, and the task one, which is weekly. We're also mixing up in 2-3 offline direct mail follow-ups. And within this, we're generating tasks to send a physical report. Because let's face it, when we download ebooks, they sit on our hard drive and sometimes never get read. So if we can send out the reports as well as physical copies, it's more likely for them to get read. Again, we do a tag cleanup, and 2 weeks later, we send out a postcard via a fulfillment list. What this option does is, so the email gets drafted as if it's from Travis going through to Justine, and a fulfillment list, all it simply does is create an Excel file using mail merge data in the file, and that's pulling it from the system as those records stand right there and then. So when Travis via Infusionsoft sends this file of the mail merge job for Justine, his member of staff, to process, he's not doing it physically. He's having the system do it at the appropriate time in the sequence at week 3 to go and send that postcard out to any prospects that are still in the mix at this stage. Likewise, the newsletter gets sent on week 5 or whichever week you want it to be sent. That all gets generated automatically as well. So that's the end of the Infusionsoft demo. We had a number of questions after that in the webinar that this is recorded from. If you've got any questions or there's anything further that you'd like to discuss with regards to Infusionsoft as part of this program, please don't hesitate to call me US toll-free on 844-585-1448. You can see it on your screen now. Or email me at gareth@garetheverson.com, or tag me up on Paul's Facebook group. I look forward to speaking with you more.